They could bring back the Women's Christian Temperance Union in Evanston, and they have no drinking. I mean, if that's what you want, be careful what you wish for.
Live on digital media from the vast and spacious VPod TV studios in beautiful Oak Brook, Illinois, where Ronald McDonald was once king and now he's not. It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, former Liberty Magazine editor, Breitbart contributor, Tim Slagle. This week's very, very special guest, broadcasting legend in his own right, sports media pioneer, Mike North. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Wolf.
And it is Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. I'm knocking, should at least tell a knock-knock joke, right? Aren't you glad I didn't say banana again? So I know this is not your bailiwick sports.
Yeah, not at all.
But, for example, you probably didn't know that Tony La Russa, do you even know who Tony La Russa is?
I have no idea.
Okay,
who that is.
a lot of people thought that he was gone forever, but he's a geriatric. He's the geriatric manager of the White Sox.
Okay, that I knew. Yeah.
He came back, and there's a lot of ageism going on. So he's being criticized by the young Turks on sports radio these days, specifically To Wit. He chided star player Yermín Mercedes on the and it's funny because that Mercedes actually wears the Mercedes logo right on his helmet instead of the Sox thing, which I think is a violation of the Major League dress code. But he swung at a 3-0 pitch from a position player that had been thrown into the game by the Minnesota Twins because the White Sox were pounding on them, and he hit a home run. And that's against baseball etiquette. This is the stuff. I can't believe that you're not riveted by this kind of stuff.
I have no idea what happened.
Why don't you care about baseball?
I'm still wondering
Okay.
about the Mercedes logo on the batting helmet.
All right. But I know you do care about cheerleaders because that's universal, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
why else would you watch football?
Well,
except for those little moments, those little millisecond moments when the camera goes by the sideline and you just
they used to dwell on them much more.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm not saying there's a causal nexus here. I might be guilty of post hoc ergo propter hoc, but do you know that the Bears have not won a Super Bowl since the Honey Bears cheerleading squad was disbanded? They were disbanded after the 1985 Super Bowl season, and the Bears have not won a Super Bowl since. So there might be some relationship there.
Sure.
Maybe there were some relationships with Bears personnel or something. And that's why there's no longer the Honey Bears. But anyway, thank you, Ed. But no. Could you get the voice a little bit deeper, a little bit more resonant? There you go. So the Northwestern cheerleaders, nobody cares about Northwestern sports. Even the Northwestern students, I went to Northwestern. The whole idea of going to Northwestern is to be a snob. Because you have to be a snob because you're really a University of Chicago wannabe, which doesn't have football at all. But Northwestern tries to walk the fine line.
This I know this about sports, is the better the college, the worse their sports teams.
You would think, although there are
nobody at Harvard identifies as an athlete.
Right. They identify as Asians, unfortunately. They don't get in. They don't get into
maybe ping pong. Maybe
there you go.
The ping pong.
So
team
Northwestern had a big contretemps here over the cheerleaders squad. A cheerleader accused the newly named athletic director, and he got the job because nobody else really wanted it. All right, so
I think it's the official scapegoat.
He got the job, and I think he was part of the Office of Equity before then. Of course, my sister used to be part of the Civil Rights Division of something in the federal government, and she said there were more civil rights suits from employees in that department than there were like in the rest of the country. And you'd think that there wouldn't be in something that was called the Office of Civil Rights because everybody would be aware of all the rules. But all that does is serve to inspire people to file lawsuits because they're so sensitive.
Because everybody knows the rules.
Yeah, right. So if you create an Office of Equity, you're asking for lawsuits. So what happened was this one cheerleader complained that this guy who was later named the athletic director and has since resigned from the position over public pressure. There was even a march in Evanston over this. This guy, she complained that she had been groped at tailgate parties by wealthy donors, probably drunk wealthy donors, and her complaints were not taken seriously. Me being very old school, Northwestern class of 75, it's like, well, that's kind of what's supposed to happen at a tailgate party. They're supposed to get drunk and touch you. No, I understand the times have changed, but at some point, I think if you're not willing to be goosed, they're going to kill the golden goose of cheerleading to begin with, because you got to show. And the director of the spirit leader or whatever, said, I imagine her with a cigarette in her mouth, to say, "Honey, just go with it. There's creeps out there. They'll try and touch you, but it probably shouldn't happen. You shouldn't be." But the complaint, I think they made a federal case out of it. There was a complaint filed in court, and the attorney who wrote it was just absolutely astonished and aghast that these cheerleaders had to wear skimpy outfits and subject themselves to the leers of fans. And but see, that's what cheerleading is wearing a skimpy outfit. And then
a lot of people aren't going to get excited about the cheerleaders dressed like fundamentalist Mormons.
So, they could bring back the Women's Christian Temperance Union in Evanston, and they have no drinking. And if that's what you want, be careful what you wish for. So there was another cheerleader, a black cheerleader, who's also complaining she may file a lawsuit because she wasn't allowed to wear braids. Natural hair. That policy has since been changed. But she also was complaining that she would be standing there on the sidelines with some of her fellow black cheerleaders, and the director of the cheerleading said that was bad for optics. We'd like you to get together and everything. And of course, she didn't want to do that. And I just find it funny that here we are. When was Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954? And they're trying to bring back Plessy versus Ferguson, 1895. No, we want it to be separate but equal. So they want to resegregate. And the idea is that we all get together and we mix it up, at least for the optics' sake. But so that's the gist of that.
Which cheerleading is. Cheerleading is all about the optics. I mean,
no, it isn't. It's about getting on each other's shoulders and doing gymnastics, and there's competitions and everything. You're old school.
That's exactly.
That's
the
your
problem,
white privilege.
Is we started treating cheerleading like a legitimate sport, and that happened probably sometime the late '80s, early '90s, and since then it's. You're supposed to respect cheerleaders now, whereas before they were kind of it's kind of a joke, really. I think before then.
Well, I thought when I was growing up, it depends what age you were, is that that was the ideal, was to date a cheerleader.
Sure,
I thought.
Sure.
And so I didn't look at it as a joke at all.
That's what got the guys to try out for football. Was
you have to?
That's how you get to date the cheerleaders.
I believe there was a song. You want to got to be a football hero to get along with the beautiful girls. Yes.
1880s. That's what I was talking about, not 1980s.
Right. 23rd Skidoo. So then they have these like pep squads, and I guess I'm so old, but this was when my kids were kids, and so this is like 25, 30 years ago, or whatever. You'd see them do these pep routines at halftime, and it looked like a bunch of hookers out there. It was just, oh my goodness! The jutting and the dancing and the thrusting, and
not just getting in the pyramid and doing the claps.
Well, the claps is the thing that we were worried about, I think. So, you go to a high school football game on a Friday night, and it was the land of 10,000 bra straps. There would be all these, and these girls were made up, and it just wasn't as simple and modest.
I have a niece. I probably shouldn't be saying this. I have a niece. She was in color guard for University of Michigan, and they actually told her how to do her makeup. That's
okay.
There's so you were talking about the braids earlier, that they do have very strict dress code. They, these are the colors you're allowed to choose for your makeup. This is how you do the makeup.
Right.
And
but it is kind of, I can
it's a
understand.
uniform.
Here's the thing. I can understand wanting to change the policy, but do you have to make a federal case out of it? That's the thing. Can't this be done within the community there? But
you're an attorney. What's gonna have a better settlement?
Well, here's what I would say is, don't get the policy changed. These are wealthy donors. They have deep pockets. If you get fondled by one of them, sue them, because normally we don't want the case because they don't have insurance. It's hard. The insurance doesn't cover it. But you don't have to worry about a wealthy Northwestern donor. Just go after them. And so you want the policy changed, you're gonna
That's
you're gonna
not
lose
a bad
it.
idea.
Yeah.
I should be handing out your business card at tailgate
Absolutely.
parties to cheerleaders.
Yeah, because the commission on these podcasts is not actually paying the freight these days. No, I get that. Well, coming up to discuss this issue will be the one and only Mike North, the legend of Chicago. Please recognize that.
Yeah, I do.
You do know
I'm
who Mike
impressed.
North
I'm in
is.
awe.
No, Mike North is like if there's a Mount Rushmore of sports talk in Chicago. Okay, AM sports talk, not FM. No, Mike North is really the George Washington.
Is on the Rushmore. And you would be the crazy
sports
horse
talk.
over on the other mountain, wouldn't you?
Don't talk about my people that way. Hi-oh. So we will have Mike North to discuss that issue and other. We'll exhaust that in about a minute. And he'll say, Bruce, I really don't care about that. I don't care about Northwestern cheerleaders. I went to Senn High School, for crying out loud.
Newly appointed athletic director Mike Polisky has stepped down. But tonight, in his resignation letter, Polisky said it was time to move on. Quote, I do not want to be a distraction to our incredible men and women as they pursue a collective goal, to help our student athletes become the best they can be. While my family and I are disappointed, I move forward knowing this is the right decision, unquote.
Wow. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle, ouch, on the weekly wrap. I think that, you see that card there of the, I think Thomas
Amazing.
Jefferson would be given like less space. We hold these truths to be self-evident, ... We don't have time for that, but we'll have this whole resignation statement. Well, this is beyond my ken. We have to bring in an expert, Tim, to talk about this. And you don't know about sports, and I don't know anything about sports either, though I was a sportscaster for a number of years, but I was a charlatan. Fortunately, we have the man who I said before in the last segment, if there was a Mount Rushmore of
sports.
Chicago radio, sports talk, AM, no, just Chicago, maybe national as well. Mike North would be on it. He'd be in the George Washington position. He really inspired the score. I'm so glad I didn't take that job, and he took it. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. How you doing?
Hey, you're part of the lore, baby.
I am the guy who chickened out. So
you have nothing to be ashamed of, buddy. You've had a wonderful career in the Chet. When I was selling hot dogs, that was my favorite character. It always has been.
Really?
And I love Chet because it was after Kopic, who I used to call Vanilla. I used to tell him that. He told me I wouldn't last 6 months. The station wouldn't last 6 months. I knew I was in for something when that happened. But those were the days, my friend. Those were good times.
I got to tell you, I do like the trip down memory lane. Screw Northwestern and their cheerleaders for a second. I heard your first broadcast. I listened to because I had to hear it. And if you tell me, because my memory plays tricks on me, I believe that it was a big sports day. I think Jim Lefevre was named the manager of the Cubs that day. Maybe it was around the time that Wanstead got the job. And I had always said the Bears are at least 3 coaches away from winning another Super Bowl. Who knew I was at least, there were 10 away. And I said, this is what it's all about. And you were what it's all about.
Well, I'll tell you what was fortunate is that I was doing a handicap show on the radio back in 1989 on small-time radio before this, podcasting and texting and before phones and before this and that. And I was handicapping football in the 80s. I thought it was the next big thing. Little did we know Yeah, little did we know that we were still trying to figure out the rules in 2021.
But you were 40 years ahead of your time. That's what it comes down to.
It was crazy. And then Danny, a guy named Danny Lee from WXRT came into my hot dog stand like all the XRT people did, because they were like about a mile and a half, 2 miles away. I met Robert Plant. I met Johnny Hyatt. I met.
What kind of hot dog did Robert Plant like?
Robert Plant said to me, "What's a combo with hot peppers?" I said, "You've had worse, I'm sure."
But he didn't ask for ketchup. He didn't ask for ketchup on a Chicago hot dog.
He didn't ask for ketchup.
Okay.
Skinny little thing, walked in with two girls that were about 25 years old.
Sure.
In fact, I think we delivered because Robert Plant wouldn't leave the studio that day. But other people came in, from Jack McDowell. I mean, we had celebrities coming in. Pat Bruno came in, checked out our brownies. But Danny Lee came in, and I said, maybe, he's going to start a jazz station. I said, maybe you should try a sports station. They're starting to crop up. There's 12 of them right now. I was a weirdo. I kept track of that stuff, WFAN in New York.
Sure.
And that's what he ended up doing. I got the job, and then the rest is history. But this canceling business and this stuff with Northwestern.
Wait a minute, Mike. I have to interrupt you telling your story, because I have to say, Danny Lee walked into my father's hardware store on Fullerton and Clark, Arlington Hardware, and he heard me. My father was listening to me doing a high school football game. I used to imitate Jack Brickhouse. It was basically, out of the huddle they come. Everything was out of the huddle they come.
Hey!
Right. I think I did Cup as well. Jack, I don't know where the ball is. So anyway, I'm doing so. And he hears me and he says, "Hey, we're going to do these features at 5. We want a sportscast for a non-sports oriented audience." And that's how I got the Athletes Feast job on XRT, and that really launched me. So Danny Lee, who recently died, he should rest in peace. Yes. Both of us, he's walking into stores.
That's what he did. He walked in my hot dog stand. Then he sent in a guy named Ron Gleason, and Ron Gleason was the program director from what I found out later was going to be the sports station that I suggested to him, and he decided to abandon WJZZ, where he'd already bought the call letters for jazz.
Oh, okay.
So he went home that weekend, Bruce, and he went home, and after I talked to him about trying a sports station, he was supposed to meet with his people on Monday to decide, how the format was going to be and everything else. And he bought the Sun-Times and the Tribune, when they were both huge papers, and the Sunday ones. And he counted the ads in the entertainment section. He found 2, 3, found a couple jazz ads. Then he went to the sports section, which back in the day was thicker than the regular paper is now. And there were like 35, 40 ads. And that's when he made the decision that Monday morning to walk back in to a room of music people and tell them we're doing sports. Ouch. And they said, "We don't know anything about sports. Are you going to listen to that goofy hot dog guy?" He goes, "We may not know anything about sports, but we're going to learn." And he put together a 3-show station that dominated in radio. That was dusk to dawn. That will never happen again.
No, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing, as you might have said back in the day.
But a lot of people didn't think it was.
I knew that it was going to be a winner.
He tried to cancel us back in the day, remember?
Oh, totally. So let's go to Northwestern right now and the cancel culture right here. I mean, what do you make of this?
Well, I think that it's a dangerous time right now. I've been thinking, I tweet, but I've made my bones coming back. Working for ESPN and working for Win Daily Sports and working for Bears Barroom. I've done real well, but I've done it through handicapping. And now it's getting to the point, Bruce, where no matter what, there's a mob out there to shout you down. If you argue about Justin Fields, okay, some guy on Twitter is going to answer you with a Justin Field picture on his profile. You're not even arguing with somebody that's got any type of unbiased opinion at this. You're automatically, when they bring up, "Are you a racist?" Are you kidding me? I wanted Vince Evans to start for the Bears. They don't even know who Vince Evans is.
Hey, beat the Packers in the last game of the season in that one year, 62-7. Good old number 8. Look, here's the thing. I was playing golf the other day with a guy who he before the first tee, he nailed me as being a Trump voter, and I thought I wasn't going to make it through 18 holes. But at one point, I started talking about sports, and the guy says, I hate the Bears. And I said, why? He says, well, first of all, I was surprised they actually got a black quarterback. He thought that they were racist, that they wouldn't get a black quarterback. Now, do you think that Ryan Pace passed over Deshaun Watson? Rich Campbell wrote a 295-paragraph opus in the Tribune about how Ryan Pace made a mistake or what his thinking process was, but there was no mention of racism there. not taking Deshaun Watson, but that's what we get. We get a guy who's against. He thinks it's George Halas of 1949, and it's not right now.
Well, I'll tell you about the Northwestern case. I think Mike Polisky, who I know Mike because I worked for the Rush as an announcer for a couple of years with Tom Dorr.
Okay.
And Mike Polisky was there. And Mike was a good guy, ran a pretty tight ship. But the family becomes involved in this. And what happens is there's leaks then. I don't know anything about the case. It's his word against their word. Northwestern had an investigation, but who knows how that went about. But I do know this, that if you want to continue to drag your family through things, and there may be other things that come out because of that, that's why you see people resign. It's not worth it. I had a guy tell me one time, he goes, I'm going to sue this guy. I go, why would you even go through that? Why do you want to sue anybody? You know what? Try to move on, because all you're going to do, and I think you're a lawyer if I'm not mistaken.
I actually am. Yes, I am.
All you're going to do is make lawyers money, and you're going to drag your own agony through this. So I think now, and I was bringing it up earlier, I'm thinking I've been doing this handicapping thing, and I've been doing real well. I mean, so well that ESPN even came after me, which I think's a bigger comeback than Tiger coming back, if you want to know the truth of it. If the truth was told in this town that Mike North works for ESPN and we're doing real well with Carmen DeFalco, that would be a comeback story. But see, they've always hated me. The mainstream media has always hated me because I don't sugarcoat
Mike, if you
anything.
go to ESPN, it's like when Jim McMahon became a Green Bay Packer. I don't know if I can take that. I don't know if I can take that.
I don't have the bite I had, Bruce. I'm a nice guy.
Yeah,
I'll tell
you're kind of toothless now. I noticed that.
Oh, yeah. You have to put him in.
You know what you did? I think it was the seminal moment for the score. It was you're interviewing Michael McCaskey. And up to that time, the broadcast people, I mean, maybe the newspaper people would be tough, but the broadcast people, you know, it's the Bears guy. You know, you don't do anything. And you basically said to him, your family screwed us over. I mean, McCaskey didn't know what hit him.
He told me I was silly. I go, if I'm silly, what the hell are you? What do you? I mean, it got personal, and we never talked after that. I'm sorry he died. I had nothing.
You didn't like his topiary at Soldier Field? He used to cut like figures of Walter Payton into the vines at Soldier Field the last 25 years, I believe.
Well, you know, I really, it turned his whole family off when I said his mother fired him. I mean, that's the ultimate.
Ouch. Ouch. There you go.
But that's the ultimate deal. But that's when you could be honest. But they've been trying. You know, you told me this was going to be about canceling. The mainstream media in town's been trying to cancel. They tried to cancel the score the first 6 months.
Absolutely.
We ruined everything for the electronic media. And
Mike, we gotta go. We'll come right back with more. Okay.
I gotta tell you, did the Bears fly a commercial or did they fly first class?
First class.
All right, getting better. Getting better.
They were by far the best ones. Everyone else.
I'll never forget, they flew Rashaan Salam commercial, and he got out of the plane, he was wearing a 49er jacket. I'll never forget that. The guy's our number one pick. I go, this guy ain't gonna make it. He thinks he's in California. But he was on the weed, though.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Hey,
see, that's not a good thing.
You're just milk, straight milk and everything else,
Straight milk and cookies, that's right, man.
Milk and cookies,
milk and cookies, I'm happy. That's right.
You on the wagon right now?
I'm on the wagon.
All right, good. That's good. I'm on the wagon too. It's boring, isn't it?
No, I enjoy it.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
All right.
But when you're off, it's tough.
You'll be back in a couple of years. You'll be doing beer commercials. We're going to take a break. Brian Urlacher.
Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap, and that was Mike North, who's our guest right now. Mike, I mean, you look fantastic in that. That was Urlacher, 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's 99 or no, 2006, 2005, 2006. It was when he's a rookie, whatever the hell it was. But I'll tell you this, another relationship that went awry. I mean, we were good friends.
I didn't know.
Well, yeah, because I did. Doug Buffone said he couldn't shed a block for 2 years. I mean, he's sitting like doing the show.
Hey, didn't Buffone? Oh boy, you do think he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, don't you? Or you're
well, not first ballot. I saw Butkus play. If Butkus was, if Brian Urlacher, I mean, Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher played at the same time.
How many fingers of referees did Brian Urlacher bite off? None. Absolutely none. Butkus did. I love the Rashaan Salam.
I threw Butkus a football in the parking lot once when I was a kid.
Yeah.
He caught it and threw it back. I thought God threw me the ball. I still got it.
Oh, that's
You know what
wonderful.
I mean? Listen, I'm the only goof that had a poster of Raquel Welch and Dick Butkus in my room.
Really?
Are you kidding?
Did you imagine them like together? No.
And I didn't imagine me with either one of them because it was never going to happen anyway. But if it was, it would have been Raquel. The most perfect.
What was her uniform number in Kansas City Bombers, Mike? Do you remember that
I
one?
think it wasn't it 11?
Exactly right, Mike North. That's why you were a great sportscaster for all these
Get me out of
years.
here with that. Are you kidding me? I love that woman. She still looks sensational.
Isn't she? And she's like about 4'3", right? She's a diminutive woman, as I recall.
She's Puerto Rican born. Okay. I don't know if she's 4'3", Bruce. You got her in the Wizard of Oz. And you got her in the Wizard of Oz. Tim, you got her in the Wizard of Oz a little bit over here. No, she's the best, I think, pinup woman ever. My opinion.
Well, speaking, let's look at the way. This is why I'm the professional broadcaster.
Oh,
or
my
used
God,
to
are we
be.
gonna segue to that?
We're going back to beautiful women. You got to be a beautiful girl to get along with the wonderful football players. The cheerleaders again. Here's my idea. The Northwestern cheerleaders. They're worried about losing their scholarships, which is the cheerleaders were getting like $5,000 a year, a scholarship for that. Northwestern, with room and board and tuition, books and fees, $79,000 a year. They're getting ripped off. I say, Mike, you and I start a cheerleaders union or become agents for the cheerleaders and get them $25,000 a year. Over and above their scholarships, this is a sweatshop that they're working in, and they have to be fondled by wealthy donors.
Well, they always underpay.
You know what? If that's all true, then the one thing I want to say is we don't know if things are true or not. And like I said earlier, if you're going to resign from something, are you resigning because of your family? Are you resigning because of pressure? Are you resigning because something happened? Are you resigning because something else may come up? I think sometimes to get out is the best way if you got a family. Now, I don't know if this guy's got a family or not, but
I don't like the conciliatory, settlement-oriented Mike North. I want the Michael McCaskey, you're an idiot, Mike North.
Got a slush fund for this. Am I right or wrong?
A slush fund?
For this kind of stuff, for sexual
right. I mean,
harassment and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
Of
All right,
course.
Let's turn.
David Letterman, we could name a million people. If you got power, and Mike Polisky, I don't think had the overall
No, he's a
power.
fall guy. Yeah, right.
He was trying to get in. He was trying to get that next step. I feel bad for the guy, but that's the way it goes.
That's the way. He'll be fine. They'll secret him away somewhere in Swift Hall, at Northwestern.
I don't even know what that is.
See, I just dropping names here because I went there because I got the great education.
Who didn't?
Exactly.
And a couple other guys.
Yeah. So we were making a reference to this before. I'm driving in trying to prep for this show tonight, so I figure, okay, I'll listen to the sports talk. Well, they were going for a half an hour. I mean, I guess the Bulls and the Blackhawks are doing nothing anymore, so they for a half an hour. And I was trying to piece together this story, and they're ripping on Tony La Russa, who is a septuagenarian, Tim. He is 76 years old, and he was named the White Sox manager again. Last time he was the manager of the White Sox was in 1986. So there still is hope for the oldsters, Mike. You can be resurrected.
There were still disco records on the field when he first was coach.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. They're going on, apparently, tell me if I got the story right. Last night, the White Sox are killing the Minnesota Twins, so they throw a position player in to pitch for the Twins, and he's just trying to get through the rest of the ball game. And Yermin Mercedes, the star of the White Sox right now, swings on a 3-0 pitch, and what, did he hit a home run when he did that? And, of course, this is some kind of violation of baseball etiquette. And apparently La Russa admitted that it was not the right thing for him to do, and there would be consequences on this. So the guys on the radio station were just apoplectic over the fact that La Russa was whom they were against to begin with because Jerry Reinsdorf had named him the manager, and they don't like old guys anyway, and they think he's out of touch and that he doesn't respect Colin Kaepernick's view of the police, all that kind of stuff. So they rip into him, and it sounded like, first of all, I can't believe that they turned it into such a federal case for a half an hour, but I understand sometimes you have to vamp. But it sounded like ageism to me. It sounded like there are rules in baseball, and he's going to get, and Mercedes was going to get thrown at tonight because he hit the homer.
Exactly, and first of all, when I first heard it, but I said, Tony La Russa maybe maybe could have kept it in the clubhouse. But then when he has to explain that the guy had the take sign, so La Russa gave him the take sign and he swung through it. Sorry, you don't do that. You're a 28-year-old rookie maybe for a reason. Okay, you don't swing through a take sign.
Supposedly he missed the sign. Supposedly he missed it.
Well, then that's on him too.
Right.
So don't miss the sign. Pay attention. And then he says, "This is the way I'm going to play." That's not the way Tony La Russa manages. And there is ageism in everything now. I mean, there always has been. But I always tell people, if I wanted to come back tomorrow and they'd have me, I'd win my time slot.
Oh,
so
really?
I don't give a damn I don't care how old you think you are. It's not about how old you are, because in the radio, especially the radio world, okay, they're not supposed to be able to see. Or,
yeah, but Mike, you get fired the second you called them the Washington Redskins. And you would do it.
Oh, I would. And first of all, if there was Twitter in '92, I wouldn't have made it to '93. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind about this. But the fact that I came at the right time, and the fact that all these geniuses work for 10 cents on the dollar now, for an industry that still does pretty well, they didn't want me around anymore because I still wanted the main bucks, and they didn't think
right.
that. We'll
How much would you settle for now for afternoon drive on the Score? I'll try to make a deal.
Because you know what I listen to now? Mm-hmm. I listen to a lot of music. I mute. I hear the same group of people saying Trubisky's not good, La Russa's too old, Grandel's a great signing. I mean, I could go all night long, and I could pick out the same hosts that just are part of the get-along gang, Bruce.
Right. Well,
whatever happened to saying, what is wrong with me disagreeing and saying, some guy called me a meatball the other day for saying that Justin Fields might not make it. Yeah. I'm the only guy in the world saying that because everybody else
I'm also saying it too, but I don't count. But here's the thing, Mike.
You do count.
I don't count.
But
here's the thing about Justin Fields. I mean, Bears fans are like the proverbial Charlie Brown running up to the football and Lucy swipes it away every single time. I mean, how many times do we have to be fooled about a quarterback? We just got over the Trubisky thing, and now everybody is going gangbusters over Justin Fields. Might I remind you that other Bears quarterbacks out of Ohio State included Mike Tomczak and Craig Krenzel. And I don't think Fields had a great game against Northwestern. It was one of the games that I saw him play. He may turn into a great quarterback. And he may have all the things that you need in order to get the Bears to a Super Bowl. But can't we have a little bit of restraint here?
Discussion.
Yes.
You can't say, wait, a guy that dropped that Nick Saban already told Bill Belichick, this guy Mac Jones, because Belichick loves Saban, they're buddies. He asked about every quarterback that's come out of Alabama. This is the first guy that Saban said, take him. They weren't even going to take Fields. Yet I'm supposed to believe. I would ask Bear fans this. If they had the number one pick, were they going to pass up Trevor Lawrence for Justin Fields?
Right.
And if the answer is yes, I don't even want to have a discussion with you. And on top of that, Bruce, all of them may end up being busts. We've been around the block too many times, and we've seen the Tim Couches. We've seen the Ryan Leafs. We've seen
Cade McNown.
The Byron Leftwiches. The Cade McNowns, I was convinced more than anybody he was going to be good. You're going to pick a bad one once in a while, but I was right on Trubisky. If Justin Fields has a 29-21 record, 10,000 yards passing, 65 touchdowns, 33 interceptions, and an 88 quarterback rating.
Oh, I love the way you lather me with statistics, Mike.
They will throw a parade for him. And what's funny about that, those are Trubisky's statistics.
Yes,
and when you hear people say he's a bust, how can you say that?
You're a contrarian. Nobody's defending Trubisky. You're just trying to get publicity for yourself, Mike North.
Oh yeah,
you hot dog with onions. Yes.
We don't want to be cocky here. Oh yeah, well, they've been telling me I'm going back to the hot dog stand for 30 years. But I don't want to be contrarian. But here's what I would tell everybody. I think you could say the same. We were big before Twitter. Okay.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I made my bones by a debate. There's no more debate. You either do it, you agree with us, or we're going to try to shut you down.
Right.
That don't happen with me.
All right. Bears 8-8 this year with and Abby Dalton. Thanks so much, Mike. We appreciate your joining us.
You're the best.
Good luck
guys,
to you in your
you
gambling endeavors and all that. Mike North on
it.
Mount Rushmore. Of who else is on
too.
Mount Rushmore?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Who else would be on Mount Rushmore, I guess? Dan Bernstein, maybe? Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle. I'm just making the noise now. My knuckles are. Oh,
Yeah, starting to hurt.
Oh, they're really
It's,
hurting.
2 shows.
That's genuine fake
Yeah,
imitation
Formica.
wood. So we've been talking today about this Northwestern cheerleading scandal and how the athletic director had to resign. And yeah, I guess I'm just so old school. Remember when flight attendants were called stewardesses? Coffee, tea, or me?
Sure.
And-
With
and-
the big TWA hats.
There we go. And
But that was gone by the time I started flying. It was my biggest to put. And then the Hooters airline came out for a while. Remember that?
Yes,
and I really wanted to book a flight on Hooters because it seemed like the closest to the glory days of flying, the Mad Men era, where they had the mini skirts and the big hats and the wide belts.
And there was mandatory smoking. If you were a non-smoker, you had to go to the laboratory, probably. No, and I just so they were called. There was. Do you ever remember the movie Bob Carroll, Ted and Alice?
Sure.
No, okay. There is a scene there where he's having a fantasy that he's on the plane and the stewardess, I believe it's the stewardess, who's wearing all in pink or whatever, takes off all their clothes. I may have the memory.
Maybe, wait a minute, that was my fantasy.
Yeah, there we go. But they were called stewardesses, not flight attendants, and so we've had a parallel change in what cheerleaders are supposed to be, and now they're athletes. They're called athletes, and they can get athletic directors fired.
It's still not an Olympic sport. Until cheerleading is an Olympic sport, it has no credibility.
It's interesting, but Caitlyn Jenner would not like a transgendering male to be able to compete in the female cheerleading if he had his druthers.
Wasn't George Bush Jr. a cheerleader? I thought he was.
George Bush Jr. You mean?
Yeah, the President Bush.
Oh,
Yeah,
President Bush.
Second one.
The second one was a cheerleader?
I think he was.
I can't believe I voted for him. But I was wondering and they shouldn't be fondled or anything like that by even wealthy donors.
Sure.
But
how many of those donors do you think made a crack about tailgating right after they did it?
I mean, it's actually embarrassing because I know many of those wealthy donors are old guys, and they're probably younger than I am. And I'm saying, come on. I mean, don't do this kind of thing. But I'm just wondering if it'll ever get to the point where if let's say 5,000 fans are ogling the cheerleaders, if you could consider each one of those ogles a microaggression, so that in the aggregate you have a macroaggression, and you therefore can get a settlement from the university if you're a cheerleader. I'm just, I'm always thinking of the litigation.
Or at least have the student loan forgiven. I mean, if there's ever
that
been
is
an
such
excuse.
a rip-off. I mean, $80,000 a year. It costs $80,000 a year to go to Northwestern. Well, you know that nobody's paying any of that.
Yeah.
Or they're taking out loans.
Well, especially the last year, it was $80,000 a year for a streaming service.
Oh boy! Oh my goodness!
I mean, you could. I am surprised that like University of Phoenix and that are not doing much better because it's the same. It's the same. It's been the same thing for the past year.
It's always about the credential. You just get to say, where you went, and that's. I always thought, since I did go to Northwestern, that and I've never donated a cent, so I would never get invited to a tailgate party. But I thought that they should pay me because I was a semi-famous sportscaster in Chicago. And I could easily say that I went to Northwestern, and that would help the university. So why not pay me?
Sure.
Northwestern owes me money. I don't owe them money. That's the way I look at it. Speaking of political correctness, I totally forgot about our karaoke segment. That was our bit. I was asking Joan Esposito last time to sing, and I didn't ask Mike North what his favorite karaoke song was. You still haven't sung for us, have you?
No,
what are you going to sing for us?
You're better off.
All right. Well, all right. This is not exactly karaoke. It's going to be an a cappella parody, and only a mini parody because I don't like parodies that go on and on. Give me the flavor of it. Give me a tweet's worth, and that's about it.
You don't have to do the chorus more than once.
Not really.
Not a parody.
John Cass, who was basically the heir to Mike Ryko, although now he's been deep-sixed into the so-called opinion section of the Tribune and the headlines over his columns. You don't even see that it's by him anymore. That's how anonymous he's becoming. But he's a good writer, and he was writing about how there's this movement afoot to rename Lakeshore Drive after Jean-Baptiste Point de Sable, who was one of the early settlers of Chicago and who was black. And of course, there is DeSable High School, and they want to rename. But Lakeshore Drive, I mean, that's the iconic Lakeshore Drive.
LSD.
Totally LSD.
So it's going to be that. It's going to be JB.
You're one step ahead of me right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So no, that's okay. I've stepped on many of your jokes, so it's okay. What's sauce for the goose? My wife and I got married many years ago, and we drove in my father-in-law's Mercedes, yellow Mercedes, up Lakeshore Drive to the Drake Hotel, which is a great view. You see the Drake, and then we had the reception for 325 of my mother-in-law's closest friends, but you drive up Lakeshore. It's Lakeshore Drive. You don't change the name of Lakeshore Drive. That's all there is to it. Remember the song by Aliota and Haynes? Do you remember that song, Lakeshore Drive?
No.
Certainly Chris must remember it. How can I do a parody? If you call yourself a Chicagoan since 1986 and you don't remember the Aliota and Haynes Lakeshore Drive, you do remember it, Chris, don't you?
I am too young to know it, but I do remember it.
Okay, there you go. That's good enough for me. I'm on a limb right now.
Do you know how I know it, though?
How?
Did you ever see a show called Dining Chicago?
Yeah.
It was essentially a guy was able to get a bunch of free meals, and he got sponsored by the Chicago Restaurant Association.
Yeah.
That was the theme song.
Well, right, and it's a great theme song for that. So you're not going to appreciate this one whit, and there goes the Ed McMahon laugh on this one. But I'm going to have to do this a cappella, but here it goes. There's a road I'd like to tell you about, lives in my hometown. Jean-Baptiste Pointe de Sable, it's called. That's a mouthful of syllables to sound. Switch on your turning signal when you're changing lanes. Turn on your virtue signal, bust just by changing names. Running south on Jean-Baptiste Pointe de Sable, heading into town. Just slipping on by on JBPD, weekend murder bound. Ding 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 ding. It's all right. Please clap, said Jeb Bush. Please clap. At least the sound of one hand clapping. All right, so there you go. So we're not going to get you to sing. All right, that's fine.
You're
That's
better
fine.
off.
Okay, so were you educated at all about sports during the Mike North segment? Did that pique your interest at all?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
fascinated.
Thank you for the
now.
lying.
Okay.
I just thought it was unbelievable that these sports talk guys, and I'm just too old. I just don't care enough anymore that they even cared that a baseball player was going to be, it wasn't even going to be fined. He probably was going to be told by his manager, hey, don't swing at a 3-0 pitch. You know what a 3-0 pitch is, right? No, you're looking at me with your eyes glazed.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, don't swing at a 3-0 pitch.
Right.
When it's being tossed by a guy who's just trying to get the game over with. He's a position player, and
Sure.
he did, and he hit a home run. But it's all this. It's against the old school stuff.
Bruce.
Yes.
Isn't taking a walk worse than trying to hit? Because there was 2 outs, by the way. I watched the game.
Oh, okay.
There were 2 outs.
Well, he should have swung and missed at 3 straight pitches.
2 guys took 2 horrible swings because the ball's coming in like 55 miles an hour, and
yeah.
they looked like they've never seen something that slow. And then Mercedes is 3-0. Wouldn't it be more rude to take a walk? That's my opinion.
Now we're getting into the finer points of baseball etiquette. I don't know who the Emily Dickinson of baseball. Not Emily Dickinson. Emily Post.
The 2 guys in front of
baseball.
Mercedes swung. There's 2 outs.
But did they swing on purpose to miss? They may have whiffed on purpose.
Do you think Jake Lamb, who's trying to just get on a team, who's in because it's
I don't
14-2?
I think
Judge throw away an at bat.
I think Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis should be investigating this. This could be the worst thing since the Black Sox scandal. The guys actually swung and missed on purpose to get the game over with, and they actually threw the.
They swung on and missed on
baseball game.
55-mile-an-hour pitches.
Yeah. Well, that's. It's a changeup because he normally throws 65. And have you ever gone to one of those carnivals or state fair and thrown a baseball and see how fast you throw it? Have you ever done that?
No.
Yes, it's way slower than you think you're able to throw.
Way slower. So I do it with my son-in-law. This is the Wisconsin State Fair, like 7 or 8 years ago. My son-in-law and his father. And my son-in-law, and admitted he had actually tried out for the White Sox years ago, and he threw 90 miles an hour back then, but the pitches did nothing. They just came in straight, so everyone got knocked out of the park, and that was the end of his budding baseball career. His father So he threw it like 72, 73 miles an hour. And he ran up and threw it and everything. It was more like a combination shot put and baseball throw, hammer throw, javelin. His father got into the 50s. I get up there. Guess what it was?
35.
38 miles an hour. And I said, wait, there's something wrong here with the machinery. Let me do this again. I threw it again, and it was 38 miles an hour. And it's really embarrassing. Now, of course, I was past my peak. I'm sure I had gotten it to 42, 43, when I was,
Tell you what,
Little
Bruce,
League.
Take the ball, get on your bicycle. You'll get it to there quicker.
But yeah, you don't feel like. Jamie Moyer was threw the ball slowly at like 75, 80 miles an hour. Yeah, there is quite a difference there. And Chris, how fast do you throw the baseball?
Mine was like 52.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I was a third-string quarterback my freshman year.
Ooh,
couldn't throw the deep ball though. That's why.
But you threw that. But did you throw the deep out?
I could.
Okay.
Anything within 30 yards. I'm okay.
That's pretty good. No, I've been to like King County Cougars Class A baseball games, and you just stand out there on the field, and these are guys who are never going to even make it. They're playing catch in the outfield, the right fielder, and the center fielder, and they just go like this. Ding. And the ball goes to the center fielder from the right fielder. And I would have to run up and throw. I was once in a charity softball game at Wrigley Field. The bases were loaded. I was in a Cubs uniform. And Billy Williams hit a ball to center field. I said, please don't come to me. And it bounced off my glove. And I tried to relay it in. And they needed like 4 relays. They needed the 4x100 relay team, the U.S. Olympic team, to get the ball back into the infield. So it was a 4-base error grand slam for Billy Williams. Okay, well, that wraps it up. We got a bonus section coming up right here.
We are going to play the Snopes game.
Oh, I cannot wait for that. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And I want to tell you, we all owe a big apology to the pride and joy of Illinois after what New England did to Denver yesterday, do we not? A little apology? Somewhere between the apology we owe Elster Simon and the one we don't owe Anthony Porter. I missed the Bears yesterday, having to go through a 25-hour fall Sunday. Without them was almost too much, and because of the bye. In my fantasy league, I had to bench Jay Cavallari. I assume he's taking her last day because what man would let his wife's insanity jeopardize his children's health? I note that Mark Trestman still had planned a post-mortem press conference today had Nick Wallenda met his mortem. Trestman having been prepared to announce, I still have to look at the snuff film, but I can assure you Nick Wallenda was a good father.
My favorite part at the end there.
Oh, there you go. Boy, that guy talks too fast. I didn't understand it.
Who was that kid?
I don't know. I think it sounds like a comic imitator. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle.
The bonus segment.
The bonus segment. So we're going to play this game called the Snopes Game. I understand it's the first time we played it. Now, Snopes, correct me if I'm wrong, is this ideologically biased fact-checking website, right?
Yeah. Originally, it was the way to stop internet rumors because all this stuff would go on like Bill Gates is going to give $1 million to someone who forwards this email.
Right.
And then Snopes was there to say, no, he's not.
But it is metastasized into another left-wing
right. Correct.
Site. Yes. Okay. So this is called the Snopes Game. So tell us how the game is played, Johnny Olson.
Well, thank you, Bruce. So I will read the headline from a Snopes investigated story that is circling the interwebs or whatnot.
Okay.
Then you and Tim will choose if this story is true, if it is false, if it is unproven, or if there's some truth and some part of it's false.
So this
They
is
judge it
according
on
to
that.
Is according to
This is
Snopes.
according to
It's according to
the fact checkers at Snopes, who, as you've
we have to
alluded
decide. We have to put ourselves in the shoes of the Snopes people,
now you are-
not in the service of the platonic ideal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As Tim stated, remember how Snopes started? It was disproving myths and whatnot, right? Then all of a sudden they became a hard news fact checker, and they outgrew themselves, and they started hiring people that were like people that visited the site a lot. They'd send them an email and say, "Hey, we need help." So these are not investigative journalists.
Sure. All right.
Well, it's actually the woman who started it left, Barbara Michelson. Right. She left because her husband was using the GoFundMe money to buy hookers.
All right. Is that a fact or is that unproven?
Can we look that up on Snopes?
50-50.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I think I understand the concept. It's multiple choice. I got a 25% chance.
You have a 25%
Now,
chance.
do we have to
There's-
buzz in with the answer, or do we
No,
both
no,
get to? We
'cause
both
you
get to answer.
Both get to answer. We'll go through 7 stories.
Okay.
Whoever has the most at the end has bragging rights. I'd
Sure.
say gets to punch each other in the stomach once, maybe something along those
Yeah.
lines. But
Gets to
that's-
do a cappella karaoke next week. Okay.
we make Tim learn the lyrics to the new LSD.
Sure.
All right, so here is the first story.
Okay. The first story.
Are you ready?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah.
Did Trump build a replica Oval Office at Mar-a-Lago?
According to Snopes.
According to Snopes, this was circulating on the internet
Right.
that Trump, because he still considers himself president to some,
Right.
built his own Oval Office so he can operate out of Mar-a-Lago.
I'm
with
going to
his
say
office.
Trump. Snopes says that that's a true story.
Trump says
I'm going to say unproven.
unproven for Tim. Believe it or not, as far as we can tell, according to Snopes again, Trump's office at Mar-a-Lago is made up of right angles.
Oh.
This is how they get snarky, though. The beauty of Snopes getting snarky is he took, in a picture, he has the same picture that he had of his family behind him, and he bought a $3,500 desk that is close to the resolution desk. That's how they say, but they still call it false, to their credit.
Yeah.
But the
I
desk,
got more respect for Snopes.
And did you know that he brought his chair from New York, and that's what he used at the
In the White
Resident
House?
desk? Yes.
Did not.
Is he allowed to do that? Is that a constitutional violation?
Something a lawyer
Yeah.
might want to look
Oh,
into.
yeah,
Lawyer.
really do.
It's the Resolute desk replica is exactly the same minus Monica Lewinsky's fingerprints.
Hi-yo. I mean,
So the chair is the same.
it was her
Some pictures are the
fingerprints we were talking about? I didn't think it was that. Do you know this little known fact? That the dress was Monica Lewinsky was persuaded to produce the dress. Do you know this? By a woman named Lucianne Goldberg.
Yeah.
And you know who Lucianne Goldberg is the mother of? Jonah Goldberg.
Huh.
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 How about that?
Is that true? Is that unproven?
We need to start a Bruce Wolf
It's-
fact checking.
okay.
device. So this is false.
Thank
Let me
you.
show you the meme. John pulled it up. So this is what the meme that was going around. Trump has an exact duplicate Oval Office constructed inside Mar-a-Lago. Aides say he sits behind the desk for hours with 3 TVs playing of videos of the past rallies and the Capitol riot. So people, that had to be disproven by Snopes.
That's great. And somebody put that out there. And how many
Somebody
likes
put that
did it
out.
get?
Oh,
how many
sure. It was
retweets?
retweeted 4 billion times.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
important thing is it's still 0-0 because you both got it wrong.
Oh, okay.
So
I
let's.
thought Tim was closer.
Well, you don't. It's.
Yeah.
Is testing at Northwestern if your multiple choice is closer?
I don't know. I don't know.
A topic that was discussed in one of the podcasts was Maricopa County elections database deleted. Was Maricopa County's election database deleted?
That's a good question.
Huh.
I'm
It
going to
ma-
say unproven.
A couple days ago, former President Trump, made
Right.
a false claim that of electoral fraud, this time linked to the audit in Arizona. Now, he made a vast, if you remember the release, did he mention this in it, and is it included?
Well, wait. I know that Trump said the files were deleted.
Yeah.
Right. So this is how it starts, right?
Okay.
And now the great people at Snopes, the independent fact checkers, come in and tell you what they think. So, Bruce, you are.
Well, what they think is that it oh boy, I'd rather have math on this test. So,
There's only 4 choices.
I mean, I even know what was said, but
Trump said it, then that's what they fact checked, right?
they fact check whether it was,
Whether it was deleted.
and they said, what did they say? That
That's what you're saying. Did they say it is true that it was deleted?
oh no,
false?
they will say that it's
Unproven
false.
or
They will
50?
say that it's false that it was.
You're
deleted.
saying false, Tim.
Yeah.
You are saying
I was going to say false, but I think they're going to go. It's either mixture or unproven. I
don't know the
I
difference
think mixture. I think they're going to go.
you're going to
mixture.
go there's some truth to it.
No, I'm going to go unproven.
Unproven.
See, I don't
Stick
even
with
know the
unproven.
difference between answering unproven and 50-50.
Unproven means they can't find the data to say whether
Right.
it is, and then this
Right.
is like, well, Trump said some things that were true. Isn't this?
I
usually
think if you
Trump?
do a Venn diagram of unproven and 50-50, it covers 50% of each
false.
answer.
They call it false.
Yeah, well, I got it
Ah.
right, so I know
Ah.
how to play this game.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay.
So a quick little read on it here is that President Trump made, of course, they have to put inflammatory because this is a fact site, so let's use adjectives. Claims about the management of the elections in Maricopa County, the site of intense protest and baseless speculation about electoral fraud in the 2020 election. Trump said the database at Maricopa County was deleted. This is illegal, yada, yada, yada. It is false because what actually happened was the state Senate had said part of the drive that they can't find. Now, the funny thing on this one is, I'll get down to it here, they did then say that part is true, but they do not give it a 50-50. They have yet to locate part of it, but because Trump made it a broad statement,
right, his
false.
statement is false.
So you go look in Snopes, they say it's false, when technically, when they admit later in the story
It's 50-50.
that they still have not found.
Or unproven.
One or the other, certainly not false.
Yeah.
But because Bruce is reading into the minds of the
Sure.
22-year-old undergrad that is doing...
I knew it because it's a knee-jerk reaction to Trump.
That is sleeping with
So
Barbara
there's no-
Michelson's ex-husband.
Yeah, there's no nuance to it. You just have to put yourself in the mind of a Snopes person. Do Snopes have Snopes persons as spokespersons? Is that true?
Say that 10 times real fast.
Difficult.
All right, moving on. Bruce is up 1-0. Did a man forge his dead wife's vote for Trump? This man has been charged, to give you a little background, with first-degree murder of his wife, Suzanne. Did he also vote for her?
Unproven.
Unproven, says Tim.
Bruce.
I'm sorry, Bruce. Tim.
I'm going to say 50-50. I'm going to say a guy did vote for his dead wife, but did not murder her. Is not charged with murder.
Is this Drew Peterson?
Yeah.
So he didn't
Blast from
murder
the
the
past.
third wife, but he forged the fourth wife's signature on the ballot. Right?
You put her in a 50-gallon drum. Does she die? You don't know.
That's 50-50.
Right.
At 50
That's
gallon
50-50.
drum. Yeah.
So it is unproven,
Oh,
which is not 50-50.
did I say unproven?
You said unproven.
Yeah, so I'm
Oh
ahead.
man,
So-
you are.
so in
creaming
the-
I think
in
we're going
the-
to have to invoke the slaughter rule now. I think I won. Yeah.
He is charged with murdering his wife. And he has said that he thought it would be okay because she would have voted for him.
Right.
But they cannot prove that he did vote for him.
Will that vote be deducted from the Maricopa
This is
County?
This is Colorado.
Oh, Colorado. All right.
Trump still lost Colorado,
Yeah.
right? Moving on.
If she was buried in Arizona, would it count in Maricopa County?
That sounds like a 50-50.
I would again.
It's the opposite 50-50 that I got, but but Snopes said it's unproven. So.
Boy, stand-up comics are smart. Because I lost interest in this after I was told that I was right. Okay, well I'll move on.
Move on to the next
Okay.
one. We have to remember that. Move quickly when Bruce is right.
Smarter
So he's
pandemic.
otherwise, like a lawyer, he'll argue his point that he didn't get it.
Right.
Was Rand Paul right all along about the CDC mask mandate?
According to Snopes?
According to Snopes, was Rand Paul right all along about
False.
the CDC mask mandate?
False.
The U.S. Senator rejoiced at revised guidelines allowing fully vaccinated people to relax mask mandates during the COVID-19 pandemic. Was he right all along? You say false, Bruce?
Yes.
I'm sticking with Bruce. I don't want to get creamed. I'm going false.
Can I
too.
tell you a quick
False.
Rand Paul story?
Sure.
Okay, so we're doing the CPAC convention, conservative convention in Chicago, where I'm on WLS Radio with Dan Proft at the time, and we have lots of people around us, and Rand Paul is our guest. And of course, the big names at WLS at that time were Don and Roma, and Rand used to be on their show a lot. I think we were substituting for them. And so Rand Paul, who can be a smart aleck, and he just wanted to be funny, he says, "Oh, I kind of wish Don and Roma were here." And I said, I kind of wish Ron Paul were here. So, there you go. Is that true, false, or did I just make it up afterwards because I didn't have the guts to say it then?
You said it in your mind.
Exactly. Said it in my mind.
So
You get a point.
you both say false on this. I was shocked that they gave this a 50-50 mixture.
Really?
Are you not shocked?
Yeah. I thought they'd say false.
And maybe it is the weird, no one knows where they're at with the wearing the mask anymore. What part is true is that Paul, as we know, clashed with Fauci, saying that he could go unmasked if he was fully vaccinated, and the whole mask thing was theater. 2 months later, the CDC announced that that is true. What's false, they say, is Paul claims don't take into account the CDC's ongoing investigation, yada, yada, even though the guidelines were announced in May. So they're giving him credit, even though he was saying it early. Some context.
Do we have to do all 7?
No, we're doing 5 because we're at our 12-minute mark.
Okay.
It's like we got rained out. Is it an official game after 5? Okay.
It is official game when we hit the 12-minute mark.
Exactly.
So, and this one is from the old-timey category of Snopes.
Okay.
Was the Muffin Man song, Bruce, a couple bars, please.
I don't. The Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man.
Was it a warning about a 16th century serial killer? This is what Snopes was invented for, by the way. All this.
Oh, the
old
Muffin
crap.
Killer. Yes.
False.
I will say true.
You were true and false. They give this one unproven.
Oh.
And the reason they give it unproven, to quickly put a bow on this, is because they can't find any records from the 16th century.
When did Gutenberg come around? Was he around? That was his first story. Muffin Man kills 2. Yes.
So that's how Snopes works.
Yeah,
that's how the
enjoy
game
it.
works.
I like that game.
Bruce won 2-0.
I like that's a good game. It's a very intellectual, NPR-ish kind of game. Like Knock Knock, Look Who's Talking, or whatever that game is they play on NPR.
How is that the biggest thing on NPR? Have you listened to more than 5 minutes of that?
No.
And especially with the studio audience where they talk or they cheer over the lines. It's a complete mess. Yeah. Anyway,
the biggest thing on NPR though is like the world's tallest midget, isn't it?
There you go.
We can end.
I've enjoyed this thoroughly. I'm exhausted as well. It was too much of an intellectual exercise at the end.
Let's get you in a cold bath.
We will. We will. Thank you so much, Tim.
Until next time.
Chris. Au revoir.